we've already talked about the feasibility parts, the permitting part, and now another very important part, which is finding the supplier and signing the contract. So what I've done here is I split the slide in two parts. So I'll be talking about what you should do and what you shouldn't do. Maybe we can start with what you shouldn't do. So what you shouldn't do is you shouldn't be unsure about what you'll be using your battery for. So this goes back to the point about the economical feasibility. So the economical feasibility is a part where you would actually identify the target applications that would help you generate maximum revenues for your batteries. So on that sense, you're not only knowing what kind of services you'll be tackling, but also having an idea of how your battery would be used. That is very important so that you get uh, on a first level the expected lifetime to ensure feasibility of your project and maximum, let's say, revenues, but also what we, as Arthur said later before, the cycling rates. So that is a very important part in which on which battery suppliers base their offers and as well base the potential sizing of the battery. If you have the expected lifetime of your business case and how many cycles you will be doing by every day, that's at least a very first point of what you should have as information. The second point is about tossing a bottle in the sea. So here was what I'm trying to say is that don't try to let's say send your let's say it's your RFP document to every single supplier in the world. It is better to keep your crowd limited by on a first level selecting tier one or well referenced suppliers that actually offer solutions with enough references and have a good experience with the industry. And the other point is about what I call the allotment strategy. So when it comes to buying an energy storage system, you should need to understand what you're trying to procure. Are you just trying to procure, let's say, the battery container itself, so the DC part? Are you just trying to buy the inverter, the transformer, or or even only the engineering part? So all of that is very important so that you can anticipate any potential interfaces with different players, and that you can finally delimit how things should be done. And that point is specifically linked to the first point about in the do section, where you need to once again clarify this exact scope of work and these specific responsibilities, so that everyone is clear on what they are expected to do. And in case of any conflict later on, you still have your own contract that's well redacted, well drafted to delimit that. And usually, we're using what we call a RACI matrix is very important so that you can go into a more granular approach to distinguish between the different parts and what is the responsibility of each of the stakeholders, whether it's the buyer, the battery supplier, the engineering company, or even the local authority slash system operator. What you should also uh, take account of is the local regulations and product certifications. So local regulations, especially when it comes to environmental conditions and fire safety, are very important because they can also affect the viability of your project, especially when it comes to distancing battery storage systems, the selection of specific solutions. All of that would also play a very important part in the technical feasibility. Then there's also the certification part. So it's not only important for fire safety, but also on the insurance and financing part. So many insurance companies are actually tricky when it comes to buying a solution that's not well certified or having fire safety certifications such as UL 9540 certification on the system level. So if your solution doesn't have it, some companies may actually either increase the premium or just not insure the project, let's say once and for all. So these elements are also very important. Uh, there's also what we call, and what I'm saying here, and which actually came before in the poll part, is the cost metrics. So the cost itself is not the only metric. So there are more, let's say, more diverse elements. You have the cost, you have the actual performance of your system, you have the supplier, let's say, references. So it is always recommended to work with a supplier that has references, and that also plays greatly when it comes to financing a project, as working with an unknown supplier may also pose some risks on the financing part. And finally, the warranty and guarantee parts. So you will need to make sure that the system remains operational for the expected lifetime. So having clearly defined product warranties and performance guarantees are very, very important, and especially during this operational phase of your project. So, so indirectly, while I'm talking about the don't phase, I covered most of the do ones. And as just to go briefly, since I see that I'm almost out of time. So on the do part, the performance check metrics. So the most important one that shouldn't be forgotten about the availability of your system, the round trip efficiency, and the usable capacity. So the round trip efficiency and usable capacity must always be assessed at the point of connection. So you should, because that's what you can actually use, and that's also a very important element that should be noted. Once you define these performance metrics and what you're expecting from your battery supplier, you should also configure adapted penalty rates so that you can say that to your, let's say, battery supplier, if you don't respect these conditions over the lifetime, and since I'm paying you to ensure, let's say, a no add contract, some penalties would apply if you don't respect this obligation. Uh, as for the document itself, and as others said, the document should be quite extensive. In it, you should clarify the specific conditions of your site, whether it's the environmental ones, the targeted interconnection level, as well as the process, how the procurement process should be happening, and what are your hard deadlines, whether it's for the expected commercial operations date, expected takeover date. And finally, one very important point is about the promotion of transparency throughout your process. So whether it's a private or a public procurement exercise, it is very important to ensure that all of your communications remain transparent across all of the bidders, and that not only ensures that no one is getting, let's say, sidelined, but also would help support any healthy competitions amongst bidders, and will very, very often end up being, let's say, having a very positive impact for the buyer himself in terms of contractual negotiations and cost negotiations as well.
Visit Sinovoltaics.com to learn more.